Good evening and welcome to our regular City Council meeting for May 17th, 2021. I'll now call this meeting to order with a roll call from Madam Clerk.
Miller,
Here.
DeBoer,
Here.
Cruz,
Here.
Harding,
Here.
Dara,
Here.
Sires,
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
All members present, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of May 3rd?
So moved. Second.
The motion and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes and brings us to agenda revisions. Do we have any agenda revisions tonight, Madam Clerk?
I have no agenda revisions, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. That takes us over to public forum, where speakers will have one opportunity to speak for up to 5 minutes on topics germane to city business. Does anyone from the gallery wish to speak in public forum tonight? Yes, ma'am. Name and address for the record, please.
Tammy Stahl from 1009 Lakeshore Drive. And I would like to speak regarding the mask mandate. It wasn't clear to me whether you were to speak on that topic now or during the agenda when it is brought up. So if you
Yes,
want
ma'am.
me.
And it can be either time.
Okay. Well, it's time for the masks to come off. We've been held to these masks for long enough, and it's just time for them to be taken off. If people want to wear a mask, there's no reason people shouldn't be able to wear a mask, but there have been too many false claims made, and it's time that people realize actually what's going on. I was just in Florida a few weeks ago, and the people that were in businesses with masks and their businesses without masks, and all of them were alive, and they were all doing well, and it was so wonderful to see people's faces and see them smile. There are vaccines out if people choose to have them, but the vaccine shouldn't even be a part of wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. The Texas Senate held a State of Affairs hearing last week. The CDC has released numbers. They're known via the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, also known as VAERS. In the past 5 months, 4,178 deaths have been reported from the COVID vaccine. In the past 20 years, a total of 4,182 deaths have been reported from all vaccines that are out there and being given. And in these reports, they believe only 1% of the adverse effects are being reported from any of these vaccines. So the number of people that are really being affected are potentially astronomical. And to be pushing people and forcing them to get vaccinated in order to take their masks off is horrendous. Is that something you want to have on your shoulders to carry around? I personally know of 4 people that have nearly died or had terrible side effects. 3 have gotten shingles. 1 went from, an elderly person, mind you, went from being totally active to complete Alzheimer's in just a few days after getting the vaccine. It's in 2009, the swine flu came out. When 150 people died, they stopped from the vaccine that was created for the swine flu. The vaccine was pulled off the market. The people that have gotten COVID, you could have a car accident and have it labeled a COVID death if you have it. But with this vaccine, all these people are having adverse reactions, but only 1% of that is potentially labeled and put out there. It's misrepresenting what is happening. It's trying to put fear in people. I'm not saying there's not something out there, but the other way people are creating fear is that there have been fabulous therapies that are out there, especially if given early, and they've been denied They've been denied us, and those are the sins that are out there. My personal physician said that she has tried to prescribe hydroxychloroquine and or other therapies that are out there, and she's been told by the pharmacies that they are going to attempt to have her license pulled if she tries again. These are the way that people are trying to scare us and keep us contained and wearing masks, and it's a sin.
1 minute remaining, ma'am.
It's a sin, and it's time for the mask to be off.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
Any other speakers? And again, we will have the opportunity to speak on that item directly when it comes up in the agenda as well. But any other speakers from the gallery for public forum? Okay, so from Zoom?
We do. 0467.
Okay, so 0467, if you could please give your name and address for the record, the floor is yours for 5 minutes. Do we have 0457 available to speak?
0467.
Yes, Mr. Skane, go ahead,
Can you
sir.
hear me?
Yes, sir, just fine. Go right ahead.
Yes. Well, Jim Skane, 2215 Clay Street, Cedar Falls. I note with interest that the agenda is no different from what it's been for the last few years. And also, I note that as a result of the passage of 2988, the city administrator continues as the chief administrative officer for the city with all the powers that go with what has been enumerated. So there's not going to be any real change. And I had hoped that there could be some help, but as long as there is no reference to Robert's Version 12 or anything like that, nothing changes. And the agenda demonstrates that nothing has changed. I'm obviously saddened because I know that Cedar Falls needs to be a fully democratic city and council, and that's not going to happen now. But I appreciate the opportunity to express my positions, and thank you.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Skane. Any other comments or from the public?
TJ Frine.
Okay, Mr. Frine, the floor is yours for 5 minutes, sir. Just name and address for the record, please.
TJ Frine, 1319 Austin Way. It's an agenda item, but I was just hoping the parking ordinance proposed for Ashworth and Algonquin by the Place to Play Park there. I was just hoping to maybe plant the seed a little bit early and suggest maybe suspending the rules and passing the ordinance for its final consideration tonight, should it pass, just so we can really, I mean, we've been talking about parking there for years. So I would just like to kind of get that thing going and have a resolution for the people and not have to wait a total of 6 weeks to see that ordinance go through. Should it pass tonight, I would just ask that the council suspend the rules and pass it on its third and final consideration tonight as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Frine. Appreciate the suggestion, and council will consider that tonight. Any other speakers?
No other speakers.
Okay, none others from the gallery. Bring it back. Okay, so I'll consider the public forum closed, and that'll bring us over to special presentations. I have 2 proclamations tonight, one with Director Schrage and one for National Trails Day. So the first proclamation is in recognition of National Public Works Week. Whereas public works services provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' daily lives, and whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as water, sewers, streets and highways, public buildings, and solid waste collection, and whereas the health, safety, and comfort of this community greatly depends on these facilities and services, and whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, is vitally dependent on the efforts and skills of public works officials. And whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff Public Works Department is materially influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. Now therefore, I, Robert M. Green, Mayor of the City of Cedar Falls, do hereby proclaim the week of May 16th to 22nd, 2021 as National Public Works Week in the City of Cedar Falls. And I call upon all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the issues involved with providing our public works and to recognize the contributions which public works officials and workers make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. Signed this 13th day of May 2021. Mayor Robert M. Green. So Director Schrage, thank you very much. I'll do the mayoral handshake. I've been practicing that since we've been in COVID so long. But please pass along the council and my great thanks and the public's great thanks for the work that public works workers do every day.
Thank you.
And my second proclamation is for National Trails Day, and I believe we have Troy Olson here tonight. Come forward, sir. Troy is the president of the Cedar Trails Partnership, and I'm grateful to have him here to receive this proclamation with us this evening. And it goes, whereas National Trails Day was established in 1993 by the American Hiking Society to commemorate the myriad ways Americans enjoy our public trails. And whereas the Cedar Valley boasts exceptional networks of more than 100 miles of hard-surfaced and soft trails in our city, county, and state parks, and public lands, as well as a unique paddler's trail for boats, canoes, and kayaks on the Cedar River and its tributaries. And whereas the Cedar Trails Partnership, Cedar Valley Association for Soft Trails, Hardman Reserve, George Wythe State Park, Impact Outdoors, and the Cedar Falls Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, along with the Blackhawk County Conservation Board, the City of Cedar Falls, and other groups have worked diligently over decades to ensure quality trails experiences for residents and visitors alike. And whereas it is fitting that Cedar Falls celebrate our wonderful trail system and groups who have labored to create, expand, and improve it, as well as to envision Cedar Falls as a premier stop along the Great American Rail Trail. I always have to give that plug. Now therefore, I, Robert M. Green, Mayor of the City of Cedar Falls, do hereby proclaim June 5th, 2021 as National Trails Day in the city. And I encourage all citizens to celebrate this day by walking, running, jogging, or paddling our trails for personal well-being and enjoyment. And I further encourage local long-term efforts to secure Cedar Falls' place as the premier waypoint for national travelers along the Great American Rail Trail. Signed this 13th day of May, 2021, Mayor Robert M. Green. So thank you very much, Mr. Olson.
Absolutely.
And would you like to give a few words at the podium for us tonight?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all for having me this evening and for the proclamation. Just want to give our little shout out for the trails, hopefully on the 5th, but on all the other days, people will take the opportunity to use our fantastic trail system, whether you're doing the running, the biking, the jogging, or even the paddling. We have a great system and we're excited to continue to advocate for it and encourage people to use it safely. Don't forget to wear your helmets. But we've got lots of great stuff coming this summer, so feel free to check out the Cedar Trails Partnership website at cedartrailspartnership.org and get out on those trails. Thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Olson. Moving this order into special order of business tonight, item 4 is a public hearing on our proposal to undertake public improvement project for the Olive Street Box Culvert Project and to authorize acquisition of private property for said project. Is there a motion to receive and file proof of publication?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Madam Clerk, do we have any written communications filed for this tonight?
I have no written communications on file, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Start us off with staff comments tonight. And Mr. Tolan, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Tonight's public hearing is on the right-of-way for the Olive Street Box Culvert Replacement Project. Denny should be showing some renderings of the project as I speak. The city is planning to remove and replace the existing structurally deficient bridge at Olive Street with a box culvert extending from the existing College Street culvert to the east side of Olive Street. Downstream channel improvements will be incorporated, sidewalk improvements for walkability to the College Hill corridor, and placement of a new road above the culvert. Due to the changes in the culvert, stream channel improvements, and the necessary utility upgrades, the city plans to acquire right-of-way from the properties at the four corners of the existing bridge. Temporary construction easements will be necessary from 3 properties located on the northwest, northeast, and southwest.
And Mr. Tolan, could you pause for just a moment and we'll give Jeremy a chance to possibly catch up here? Or maybe it's Ms. Howard.
We sent it directly to Denny. One property in its entirety will be condemned as part of the project located on the southeast side of the bridge. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Before going to council questions and comments, I'll open it up for public comments on the project. Does anyone from the gallery wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, oh, do we have, oh, yes, we do. Okay, so yes, sir, name and address for the record, please. You have
Dan
5 minutes.
Breitbach, 9713 Westbrook Road. I'm part of a group called Friends of the Pedersen Plaza. We formed a couple of years ago to try and make some improvements to a plaza that was dedicated in the name of Hugh Pedersen. Many of you may know him as a lifelong resident of Cedar Falls and a dear friend of many of ours. And we thought that the plaza didn't really do any justice to the kind of person he was. And so we wanted to liven it up a little bit. So our plans, we've made some improvements in terms of the landscaping. We're planning on purchasing a couple of tables with some color to them, and eventually, hopefully, get a mural on the wall of the Jimmy John's building. And Brent Olson has agreed to allow that. So that's down the road a little bit, but we're I think I speak for our entire group when I say we're very much in favor of this project. It would add a great deal to the plaza. I think provide a safe access for residents living on the Olive Street across to the College Hill area. So, and we're working closely with the College Hill Partnership on our Pedersen Plaza project. And I know that in some meetings that we've had with some of the members of that group, that we're fully supportive of this culvert project. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments.
Good evening.
Evening, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Jim Kearns, 3123 Cottonwood Lane here in Cedar Falls. I'm here to speak in favor of the extension of the Pedersen Plaza, or the covering of the culvert, the Olive Street expansion of that project. As Dan had pointed out, Hugh Pedersen was a very colorful person. He was founder of the College Hill Art Festival, Creme de la Creme. You name it, if there was a cultural event going on, he was the man, known as the mayor of College Hill. Also, the visioning that's been recently completed or is being completed for College Hill talks about, how to tie in that lower part of College Hill, and this expansion provides a wonderful access, walking, well-lit, wandering path of terracotta-colored brick, not concrete, but brick, that will stand up to weather, and a couple of places for public art. I have been a long time member of the Art and Culture Board, Public Art Committees, just until this past year, actually. And we are always looking for places to put some other nice pieces of world-class public art. And that's great, because when you see a brochure of Cedar Falls, you see the Gateway sculpture down here on Main Street. And people have a sense of place. They're there, and they can revisit in their mind. Man, I had a great time eating, at Montage, and then we went over and had a beer at Single Speed, maybe 2. But so this expansion is an opportunity. The presentation during your committee of the whole talked about how the parks have never been fuller, and the pandemic that we are just, coming out of, the importance of public spaces really has been an important part of people's mental health throughout this past year. So I just strongly encourage you And know that the Friends of Pedersen Plaza will be doing everything we can to try to raise money to help with some improvements as we move through there. It's a great opportunity. Please support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kearns. Any other speakers from the gallery on this item? Seeing none, do we have any from Zoom?
We do. Catherine Sogard.
Good evening, Catherine. The floor is yours for 5 minutes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor. And as Mr. Breitbach and Mr. Kern stated, this project offers a lot of opportunity for the College Hill area. Back in April of 2020, the College Hill Partnership Board allowed me to, or unanimously voted to draft a letter in support of this proposed project. We feel that the project will bring connectivity between the neighborhood and the business district, a greater sense of place, and strengthen community bonds by creating a place for social events. Working closely with the Friends of Pedersen Plaza and the College Hill Partnership, we are hoping that this will be a safe and accessible area where we can host events and kind of create more, as Mr. Kern stated wonderfully, a sense of place on College Hill. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Sogard. Any other speakers on Zoom?
No other speakers.
Okay, thank you. Any final from the gallery? Seeing none, then I'll consider the public hearing closed and bring us to item E, which is a resolution approving a public improvement project for the Olive Street Box Culvert project and authorizing execution of private property for said project. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Open for council discussion or questions? Anything for Mr. Tolan? Okay, seeing none, then it's been motioned and seconded and requires a roll call vote.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So that item does pass. Takes us over to item 5, which is a public hearing on the proposed rezoning from A1 Agricultural District and R1 Residential Zoning District to MU, Mixed Use Residential Zoning District, of certain property located north of Huntington Road and west of Cedar Heights Drive, and also on an associated amendment to the future land use map by changing the designation from office and business park to planned development. Is there a motion to receive and file proof of publication?
So moved.
Second.
The motion and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Takes us over to written communications. Are there any communications filed, Madam Clerk?
I have no written communications on file, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. For staff comments, we have Ms. Karen Howard, and the floor is yours.
Good evening. I have a few slides to show you tonight because this is a fairly large area that we're talking about. This is a public hearing, of course, on the zoning request for about 15 acres on the east side of Pinnacle Prairie development from A1 Agricultural District to R1 Residential District. The request is to rezone the area that's shown in blue there to mixed use so that it could be incorporated into the larger Pinnacle Prairie Master Plan area. And then along with that, to update the Pinnacle Prairie Master Plan to include this new area, which is required then with the mixed use zoning. This area is located 500 feet north of Huntington Road. As you can see here, the applicant's Oster Family Limited Partnership. There has been previous discussion about this. There was an original proposal last fall with the Planning and Zoning Commission recommending denial. I'll go into that in just a moment. This revised proposal was introduced to the Commission on March 24th and recommended for approval on April 14th. Here's an image of the larger 2015 master plan for Pinnacle Prairie. As you can see, it's a very large area. It's about 600 plus acres. Includes Western Homes on the west, and of course on the east. The yellow area highlighted here is largely residential, and that's the area that's going to be the focus of the conversation for this rezoning. We're skipping over a slide here. There was a previous proposal last fall, as I said. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered it very carefully. There's many positive aspects to the master plan update that the developer proposed. They discussed all those positive aspects, but one thing that was missing was a critical street connection east-west across the district. As you can see from this previous iteration, there was no east-west street connection all the way across Pinnacle Prairie, and so in the end, the commission recommended against that proposal. So they retooled it and came back with an alternative proposal. As you can see here, the new proposal is to extend Prairie View Road across this new Pinnacle Prairie East area that they're showing here, a better connected street network. They're proposing to have the street extend all the way across to connect to Huntington Road. The city is in the process of updating Cedar Heights Drive and making some improvements there. So that would make some sense to have that collector street cross there in that location. The proposal then is to update the current Pinnacle Prairie general design guidelines to include the new multifamily area that they're proposing with the rezoning. As you can see on the slide here, the area that's to the north of where Prairie View, that area is being proposed for largely multifamily dwellings, and then the commercial area to the south where Huntington Road intersection is, and then largely single family to the west with some townhomes. So real mixed neighborhood, which is really the intent of the mixed use area. Here's just a close-up view of what's proposed in that multifamily area. And just these are the principles that go along with the multifamily. They're proposing about 12 units per acre in this particular location. Again, here, the important part of this is the street network and traffic circulation. Prairie View Road then will connect to Huntington Road. We did want to note that the commercial area that's near Huntington Road is close to a floodplain. The Green Creek floodplain goes through here, and if the floodplain maps are changing, as you know, next spring we're getting new maps in this area. This commercial area may be largely within the floodplain area at that time. So if that occurs, it's going to be difficult for them to subdivide this and potentially to develop it for commercial. In that event, the alternative route for the Prairie View Road would be to go along the southern edge of the multifamily area. So this would need to be adjusted then during the platting process. There are some technical issues here that we discussed. The area should be preliminary and final platted prior to any land sales within this master planned area. The subdivision ordinance does require that. You all discussed the idea of phasing plans when they come in with their preliminary plat to ensure that there's timely connection of streets. So that's a big reason that we like to see that come in for an entire area, not just piecemeal platting. The staff is working on with the applicant to update their developmental procedures agreement. There's one in place right now for Pinnacle Prairie, and we're working on an update to that to include this new area for rezoning. That agreement will be submitted to the council for your review prior to the third reading of the rezoning. The other thing I want to note is that there are two items on your agenda tonight. One is to update the future land use map. The future land use map in this area shows this as office and business park. The commission considered that, staff considered that, and find that the planned development designation is more appropriate for this particular location. So recommend changing the future land use map accordingly. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Before moving into the questions, do we have public comments for this item tonight from the gallery or from Zoom?
Nothing in Zoom.
Okay, so that would bring us over. I'll consider the public hearing closed. Oh, yes. Yes, sir, please. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Eric Johnson with the Beecher Law Firm. Also, Mike Shoppy and Carrie Hansen from Shoppy Design, I believe, are attending online. And don't have comments, but just wanted to recognize we are here on behalf of the developer. And if there are questions, we're available to answer those questions also.
Super. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. So that'll bring us over, consider the public hearing closed, and bring us over to item E, which is a resolution amending the future land use map by changing the designation from office and business park to planned development for property located west of Cedar Heights Drive and north of Huntington Road. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion and second. Open for council discussion, comments?
Quick
Councilmember
question.
Harding?
question for Ms. Howard. If we approve this rezoning, and then there was a part on the slide that said that the plats for commercial would have to be done prior to the spring of 2022, correct? Is there something going on where if they plat something and then the floodplain comes back bigger, do they have to change the plats then? Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
So the city's subdivision ordinance doesn't allow platting of brand-new lots that contain more than 25% in the floodplain. So the challenge here is that this has been shown as part of the master plan as commercial development for some time, and currently on the current floodplain maps, it looks like no more than 25% of the areas within the floodplain. With the new maps, it does show more of that lot area within the floodplain, so the concern is if that doesn't get platted prior to the new flood maps going into effect, it would be challenging then to approve a subdivision that would violate the subdivision ordinance.
Okay.
Is there any liability issues with any of this?
So anybody developing property in the floodplain still has to elevate and meet all the floodplain regulations. So any development that would occur on this site or any site that's in the floodplain, there's lots of lots in the city that are already platted in the floodplain, and of course they would have to follow all of our floodplain regulations.
Okay, any other questions or comments from council on this item? Seeing none, then it's been motioned and seconded to amend the future land use map by changing the designation of property located west of Cedar Heights Drive and north of Huntington Road, and this requires a roll call vote.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That also takes us to Part F, which is passing an ordinance amending Section 26118 of the Code of Ordinances by removing certain property located west of Cedar Heights Drive and north of Huntington Road from the A1 Agricultural District and R1 Residential Zoning District and placing the same in the MU Mixed Use Residential Zoning District upon its first consideration. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion from council on this? Seeing none, then motion and seconded and requires a roll call vote.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Those items do pass then. That takes us over to old business, which item 6 is a resolution extending the mask mandate for the city of Cedar Falls. Is there a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded, and open it up initially for council questions or comments, and then we'll have public comments and questions as well. So anything, questions from council to discuss opening? Okay, so does anyone from the gallery wish to speak on this item? Or from Zoom?
Rick Sharp.
Okay, Mr. Sharp, the floor is yours, sir, for 5 minutes. Name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. Rick Sharp, 1623 Birch Street, Cedar Falls. So I would ask the council and mayor to end the mask mandate. As we heard from top officials in the CDC, they have recommended that. We should follow their recommendation. Their expertise trumps what we have here in the city as well as the county. For their knowledge base, we also, if we've done our research, we've seen that major retailers have already been dropping the mandate. The city of Des Moines has dropped the mandate. The city of Cedar Rapids has dropped the mandate. Dubuque County has dropped the mandate. The Iowa Department of Public Health has advised schools to drop the mask mandate. I think it's time to we've done our best as a government entity first to have that mandate with no enforcement, and now it's time for the citizens to be responsible for their own behavior and their own personal health. So I would encourage this mandate to be dropped. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. Any other comments from Zoom?
TJ Frine.
Mr. Frine, the floor is yours for 5 minutes, sir.
TJ Frine, 1319 Austin Way. We finally made it, I think, to the point and to the end game for council's routinely saying, we want the vaccine readily available. We want the vaccine readily available. Well, we are there. You see pop-up clinics happening everywhere. Farmers markets, Friday Lou's and Waterloo, they're there, and the vaccine is readily available for anybody that wants it. The state of Iowa, I think, released a stat a week or two ago that said that the state actually gave back 71% of their allotted dosages due to low demand. So I would assume that anybody who's going to get the vaccine has received at least one dose by now. Maybe some people are still doing a little bit of research, but the demand is down. It's in my opinion, mission accomplished for the council at this point, and there should be no reason why the mandate stays in place, given the recommendations from the CDC, the recommendations by the Department of Public Health, the readily available vaccine. Again, businesses can make their own decisions.
We're losing you, Mr. Frine, so you might have to get closer to your mic.
Oh, sorry, new phone. The council has said we want the vaccine readily available, and we're there. So I think we've mission accomplished, and we're ready to move on. So I anticipate or would ask that the mandate ended tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Frine. Other questions or comments from Zoom?
There are no other ones.
Okay, thank you. Any final comments from the gallery? Okay, then I'll bring it back to City Council and open it up for discussion prior to a vote.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Dunn.
Okay, so first I'd like to apologize to anyone who contacted me today via phone or email. On Mondays, if you contact me, I don't have much of an opportunity to respond, but I was able to peek at those emails and listen to voicemails that I had. So first, I do want to make sure to remind people that our vote does not affect the school board or the school's vote. The school makes their own determination as to what they feel is appropriate for the students of Cedar Falls Community Schools. Also, I also want to remind folks that no matter what the vote is tonight, private businesses and places still do have the authority to require you to wear a mask while in their place of business. I know that people ignore that. I see it with my own eyes. I am in a place where I am confronted by people who don't want a mask, which most of us don't want to argue with people. The noise about this issue is, I'm over it. This has been about being kind and responsible and respectful from the beginning. I don't want to go much more into it, but I will agree that I think the time has come. Not saying that it's not important to still listen to recommendations, but I think the time has come mainly because we are in, the warmer weather is allowing us to be out and about. We learn more and more every day. They are absolutely right. More and more folks have the opportunity to be vaccinated. 4 of the 5 people in my own little tribe at home have either been fully vaccinated or are started with the vaccine. We do have the opportunity if for some reason, if we had strains that made our numbers go up, there is always the opportunity of a council referral for implementing the mask mandate again. So I guess that's it. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Councilmember Dunn. Councilmember DeBrewer.
I was simply going to ask to have staff or legal advise what the CDC guideline or the governor's recommendation was on it.
For staff to comment on that?
I can answer for the governor. The public health emergency remains in place until the end of the month. CDC issued some revised guidelines Friday, indicating for vaccinated people, they can pretty much go back to normal activities. That's a generalization, but that's primarily their recommendation. CDC did not address workplace issues and certainly deferred to local governments and businesses, as Council Member Dunn mentioned.
Thank you. Other
Well, and just for
Ezra?
clarification, if someone votes yes on this, they're voting to extend it to June 23rd. If they vote no on it, then it ends it now.
No, it would be ending on Wednesday at midnight, so 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday. Other questions or comments from council? Seeing none, then this has been motioned and seconded to extend the mask mandate for the city of Cedar Falls until June 23rd and requires a roll call vote.
All voting nay, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So just as a quick note, we'll have some information at the end during staff updates for the way forward on this. We have discussed it on today and last week, predicting this outcome. So with city staff, we will have information out, and also we'll be issuing a press release for what that change for us will mean beginning on Thursday morning. So thank you. Moving forward into new business, under the consent calendar, the following items will be acted upon by a voice vote on a single motion without separate discussion, unless someone from the council or public requests that a specific item be considered separately. Does a council member wish to pull an item 7 or 8? Seeing none. And does anyone from the public wish to pull an item 7 or 8? Okay, again, seeing none. Do we have from
Seeing
Zoom?
none. None.
Okay, so I'll read those two items. Item 7 is approving the following, or approving applications for cigarette, tobacco, nicotine, and vapor permits. And item 8 is approving applications for beer permits and liquor licenses. Is there a motion to approve these items?
So moved.
Motion and seconded. And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So these items pass. And that takes us over to the resolution calendar. These items will be acted upon by a roll call vote in a single motion without separate discussion unless someone from the council or public requests that a specific item be considered separately. Does a council member wish to pull an item 9 through 31?
21, please.
21, okay. And others? I'm seeing none from the council. Do we have any others from the public?
I don't see any in Zoom.
Okay, and none from the gallery. All right, so we'll pull item 21, and I'll read the others very abbreviated. Item 9 is a resolution approving and adopting the city's FY22 appropriations resolution. Item 10 is resolution amending an interfund loan for the UV disinfection biosolids handling facilities improvements project and the Bluff Street lift station. Item 11, and I'll just say item 11, 12, 13, and 14 are all related to a similar interfund loan for the lift station and biosolids handling facilities improvements projects from different funds. Item 15 is a resolution approving the dates and locations of the annual Sturgis Falls Celebration and Cedar Basin Music Festival. Item 16 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of an agreement for overtime for the Organized Crime Drug Employment Enforcement Task Force. Item 17 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of agreement for record towing services with L&M Transmission, and 18 is a similar agreement with Rasmussen Towing. Item 19 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of agreement for a support economic development agreement for College Hill Partnership. 20 is a resolution approving authorizing execution of agreement for support economic development of Community Main Street. Item 22 is a resolution approving and accepting an access easement relative to the proposed development at 422 Main Street. 23 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a subrecipient agreement for the Northeast Iowa Food Bank. 24 is a resolution approving an amendment to the Autumn Ridge Master Plan relative to Autumn Ridge 10th Edition. 25 is a resolution approving the preliminary plat for the Autumn Ridge 10th Edition. 26 is a resolution approving the final plat for the Autumn Ridge 10th Edition. 27 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of agreement for maintenance and repair of primary roads with the municipalities with the Iowa DOT. 28 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of 2 owner purchase agreements and 2 temporary construction agreements and 3 permanent easements for the West 27th Street Sanitary Sewer Extension Project. 29 is a resolution setting June 7th, 2021 as the date for a public hearing for a public improvement project for the Ashworth Drive Extension Project. 30 is a resolution receiving a filing and setting June 7th as the date of a public hearing for proposed plan specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the 27th Street Sanitary Sewer Extension Project. And finally, 31 is a resolution receiving a filing setting June 7th, 2021 as the date of the public hearing for that Oak Park Boulevard Sanitary Sewer Replacement Project. Is there a motion to approve these items minus 21?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and seconded, and this requires a roll call vote.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 21 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of an agreement to support economic development in the Cedar Valley with Grow Cedar Valley relative to the FY22 Economic Development Grant. Is there a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Open for council discussion or comments. Councilmember Dara?
I only withdrew it to avoid the appearance of a conflict of interest, and I will be abstaining.
Okay, so councilmember will abstain, and thank you very much for that. So it's been motion and seconded. If no other council discussion, then this also requires a roll call vote.
Six voting aye, one abstention.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That brings us over to ordinances. Item 32 is passing an ordinance amending Chapter 2 Administration of the Code of Ordinances relative to boards and commissions upon its first consideration. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Open it for council questions. Okay, seeing none, then is there any questions from the gallery or from Zoom?
I don't see any.
Okay, so without it, other discussion, it's been motioned and, do we have any questions or discussion? Okay,
Well, I guess the question, under what we have currently, there's nothing in here prior to this about reappointment. That is something that's been added. Correct?
I'll turn that over to Mr. Rogers.
So the discretion and the provision about reappointment is new for this section, specifically addressing boards and commission members. Previously, another section, 2-159, I believe, could be construed to mean that in order not to reappoint, it'd have to be for cause. This clarifies that it's actually a term, and reappointments at the discretion of mayor and council for boards and commissions.
So the big difference is adding the word without cause.
Yeah, with discretion and maybe for without cause, correct.
Okay, so seeing no other questions, then it's been motioned and seconded for first consideration and requires a roll call vote.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That takes us to item 33, which is passing an ordinance amending Chapter 23, Traffic and Motor Vehicles of the Code of Ordinances relative to prohibiting parking on portions of Algonquin and Ashworth Drive upon its first consideration. Is there a motion to approve?
So move. Second.
Motion and seconded. Open it for initial questions. And do we have any questions or comments from the gallery or Zoom? Mr. Frine already spoke on this one. And so not again.
Okay.
So back to council for discussion of this item, and it was brought up earlier, a suggestion of dispensing or suspending the rules and doing this on a single vote. If that is a council request, you could consider that if you like, but I'll turn it over for discussion on that. Yes, Councilmember.
Has there been any written objection to it?
Seen from Madam Clerk, there's no written objections.
Maybe let Chase.
Yeah, oh, excellent.
Director
Yeah, so
Schrage.
Director
Yeah,
Schrage, if you'd like to talk to the timing and what that might mean.
Sure. Last week, there was a public informational meeting in which we had no attendance, but we haven't received any opposing comments to implementing this parking change. The new additional angled parking stalls will begin the installation here in the upcoming weeks, so I would guess probably within the next 6 to 8 weeks, we'll have that completed and opened.
And I've heard nothing from the public either on that negative about it.
So suspending the rules, does that make the construction quicker?
No, actually, there's temporary parking, no parking signs out there currently from the police order from last year, so it's still no parking in those locations, so.
So just to be clear on that, then it really has no impact on construction timing whatsoever. It just, okay. All right, so any other discussion or motions for amendment or anything? Okay, so seeing none, then it's, the motion is to pass an ordinance amending Chapter 23 relative to prohibiting parking on portions of Algonquin and Ashworth Drive upon its first consideration. Motion and seconded and requires a roll call vote.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. And so this will be considered for a second reading and a third reading. And as it's written, nothing changes because we already have temporary parking restrictions. So with that, it takes us over to item 34, which is allowing bills and claims of May 17th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any council discussion? Anything from the public? Seeing none, then this requires a roll call vote.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do we have city council referrals tonight?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Dunn?
I would like to make the referral that our Cedar Falls Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee be considered to be an official commission of the city.
Okay, so this would need to be referred somewhere?
I'm sorry.
So would you want to put that to a committee of the whole or to
okay.
to staff?
Yes.
Okay. I would think the most appropriate place probably would be committee of the whole, since it's fairly clear what the request is. It doesn't need a great work session discussion.
I'll second that.
Yeah, motion and seconded to refer that change to have Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee become an actual commission. So motion and seconded. Any further discussion on that for referral? Yes, Councilmember Cruz?
Will there be a discussion then, or can we have a discussion of other options as far as putting it under rec department, or what mechanics of the city would it best fit under, given a commission is appointed?
Certainly.
The council as opposed to what they have now.
Okay, so looking for maybe a range of options. Okay, that could be brought up through the committee of the whole process for other possibilities. So any other discussion or questions? All right, so it's been motioned and seconded to refer that item to committee of the whole. And does this require voice vote or roll call? Voice vote. So all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
So that does pass to send to committee of the whole. And are there other referrals tonight? I'm seeing none. So that takes us over to city council updates. Do we have any updates this evening? Seeing none for that as well. So that brings us to staff updates. Mr. Gaines, do you have anything for us tonight?
So Mayor, maybe I'll just touch a little bit on the expiration of the mask update. And so as we discussed earlier, since the mask mandate will be expiring, what we'll be looking at is all city buildings will be, you won't be required to wear any masks. Staff will not have to wear a mask either. Probably the two big exceptions that we should note, as Ms. Dunn noted earlier, this doesn't affect the schools or the library because they're under different governance. And I would say maybe the other item that we have to look at is some of our camps and those type of programs that use the facilities of the schools, because as we moved forward, we had a plan that was with masks, and so we'll still have to work with the schools and since they govern those buildings and how that'll look. So we'll be probably sending out a press release on that in the near future. So,
thank you. And we talked to in staff meeting today that there certainly will be people who wear masks continued. There may be a reason that they can't get the vaccine, or they may be immunocompromised. So masks certainly are welcome in city buildings and in public. And the importance of wearing them, especially if you're unvaccinated, remains according to the CDC guidance. So just have a good sense of compassion for your neighbors is all we ask. So that is our staff update. And is there anything else that we want to add in on other topics? Or are we okay? All right. Good. Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.